Thank you, Sham, for leading us in the kirtan. Please, could everyone come a little forward for the next part of our program? If we can move as people that are able to sit on the floor. We won't be sitting for too long at a time. We'll always have a chance to have a break. Please come forward. One announcement, is the light working? We have an overflow, so if someone needs to be sitting on a chair or if we have an overflow in the yoga room, so if someone would like, with a live feed of the program. So we're streaming here, so you can be with us, but over there from a distance. And there's also a few chairs over here, if we could get them filled so we can all be closer. So for the next part of the program, His Grace Guru Jampuru will be leading us in wandering Krishna's Leela. So I encourage everyone to listen attentively, turn off distractions, external ones, internal ones, as much as possible, so that we can be guided by Guru Jampuru. Thank you, everyone. I'll hand it over to Guru Jampuru.
I need a wandering microphone.
Okay.
Do we have a second one? Mountain is deeper there. All the we had asked the devotees to come with a favorite or inspiring short story about Krishna, because today is his birthday, and it sounds, in one sense, so Today is God's birthday, the Supreme Personality of Godhead's birthday. And this is the great gift of Srila Prabhupada, of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of all the great Vaishnavas, is that we understand that although everything or nothing is separate from Krishna, ultimately, the absolute truth, Param Satyam, is a person. And this person is most wonderful. He's all attractive and most wonderful, but he's a person, he's a person, he's a person. And on this day, it's like the personality of Godhead, because it's his birthday and everyone's talking about him and giving him presents. His heart is especially open for giving mercy, flowing, giving mercy. So if you would like some extra mercy, today is a good day to get it. Now, if you could, maybe this will be a little bit lower, otherwise it's too loud. A little bit. So, it seems like all the presenters have a quite low, but not so low that we can't hear it. We all have this habit, we like to play music in the background. So, some of you may have a story to tell about this amazing person. And we're also going to do something else that I'll explain to you in a moment. But when you tell the story, it should be a little bit short, about Krishna. Tell it so he'll be pleased. And not only that, tell it, and this will be the great art, tell it in the same mood that the music is playing. Okay, who's going to be the brave one to go first, to say something about Krishna? Even of just something, some little pastime. Oh yes, Premananda just raised his hand. This is where a microphone would be handy. Otherwise,
We already have one, so just.
oh, there we go.
Yeah, we have
That's a
it.
rolling.
We have it.
It's not around. It's this one rolling down the floor there. Yes, Premananda. Remember the mood of the music.
Krishna, wearing a peacock feather on his head, Vaijayanti flower garland, Karnika earrings he's wearing, and his garment is brilliant as a brightening sun. He's entering the forest of Vrindavan, beautifying the forest with the mark of his lotus feet. And while he is entering the forest, he is playing on his flute, and he has beautified the flute by his lotus lips. As he is going into the forest, he is become a transcendental dancer as he walks on the path of the forest. The cowherd boys are accompanying him and they are singing his glories.
That was quite a picture. Anyone else like to say a little pastime or something about Krishna? Are you going to be able to almost sing it to the same music?
Stand up and
Why don't you come here? That might make it a little bit easier.
Krishna kills demons.
What kind of demons?
Strong demons.
name of demons.
Bakasura.
I couldn't get.
Bakasura.
Brikasura, do you know what Brikasura is? Brikasura? Bakasura.
He was one of the birds.
What kind of a bird?
Flapping bird.
Big mouth, a beak. And he tried to capture Krishna, and indeed he swallowed him.
He
Did you know
swallowed.
that? And when the bird swallowed Krishna, all the cowherd boys
And the
became unconscious because they loved Krishna so much.
the demigods tried to kill Bakasura, but he didn't.
Because he was so powerful. And then Krishna came right up and he took his beak
And stretched it out
until it
until it snapped.
Very good.
Anyone else like to tell a story about it? Yes. Let's remember the music, okay?
Okay, Hare Krishna. Please pardon me if some of the facts that I have are incorrect. So my favorite story is the story of Krishna and Sudama. When Sudama,
That's him will be so happy. But you remember, you have to say it to the music.
when Sudama got to Dwarka and he was standing at the gate and he wasn't allowed in because he was wearing all these torn clothes. He met with a soldier on a horse, I think, and he wasn't permitted inside, and people around were laughing at him that how can he be Krishna's friend, or why Krishna want to be his friend? He's the king of Dwarka. And when the soldier went inside to inform Krishna, he was, I think, getting dressed or something, and as soon as he heard that Sudama is here, he stopped everything and he was half undressed and he ran out without any shoes on and he ran to meet Sudama. That's my favorite pastime.
You know how Krishna and Sudama, how they knew each other?
From the Gurukul.
Yes, they went to school together.
Yeah.
And one day, he was sent out to collect wood, and a great storm came. Did you ever go to the place, this Narayan Gram, where this happened?
No, haven't been there.
Okay, you will love it, it's so wonderful. And a great storm came. They were collecting wood for their guru, Santipani Muni, and a great storm came. It was like a devastation. And all night long, Sudama and Krishna were under that tree that's still there as the rain came down. Just imagine sharing that experience with Krishna and touching Krishna's transcendental body that is made out of Sat, Chidananda, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. all night long. Next morning, the Guru, Sandipani Muni, Sri Sandipani Muni, and all the boys went out to look for Krishna and Sudama because they didn't come back. And Sandipani Muni was calling out, Narayan! 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 And they were so relieved to find Sudama and Narayan, Krishna. And Sandipani Muni blessed Krishna. Because people are generally very self-absorbed and selfish, and very rarely do they want to serve. And he was so pleased, Sandipani Muni, the Guru, was so pleased. He said, I bless you that whatever you learn, whatever true knowledge you have, you will never forget. That is a blessing. Because then we just move forward. So the experience they shared so intimately, so closely, they were together. And then when Sudama came, Krishna was so happy to see his old school friend. Because Krishna never forgets. Now, thank you so much. What's your name?
My name?
Yeah, my name. I mean your name.
Vibhuti.
Vibhuti. Oh yes, Vibhuti. Hare Krishna. Now, another thing we're going to do is, I'll tell you something that I never saw before until I went to Vrindavan. And it's something that happens in village India. Is that sometimes a person is riding a bicycle and he has to go to his village, which is quite a few kilometers away. And to get there quickly without exerting much effort, and I've seen this maybe in the past, I don't know if they still do it, but the person riding the bicycle holds on to a bus. So he can only drive so many kilometers an hour by himself, by his own power, but when he holds on to the bus, don't try this, please. Okay. So there's a metaphor that I would like to say. It means that we have our prayers, and later on I think we're all going to offer our own prayers, but another kind of a prayer is when we hold on to a speeding vehicle and we go much faster than we can go by our own power. And the speeding vehicle is the prayers of a great soul, such as Srila Rupa Goswami. And he compiled a book of great verses glorifying Krishna. And you know the name of that book? Raise your hand if you know the name of that book. Padyavali. So what we've done here, in praise of Gopinath, from Srila Rupa Goswami's Padyavali, we have a bag full of verses. Some of them glorify Krishna, some of them pray to Krishna, oh please save me, please protect me. And what I'm going to ask so it says touch me, which is just what I was going to do. Because I have to unzip it, it's very valuable treasure. And ask. It's hundreds of verses here, prayers. Now who would like to pick one, see which one Krishna arranges for you to get, and read it to everyone? Yes, okay, and then Govinda.
Yeah, yeah.
You have the other microphone going?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's prayer salad. And if you don't get a chance to get one, you can take it later. You have to remember the music too. A little louder, please. Everyone.
To the saintly devotees of the Lord, headed by Prahlad, Narada, Parashara, Pundarika, Vyasa, Ambarisha, Shuka, Shaunaka, Bhishma, Dalbhya, Rukmangada, Uddhav, Vibhishana, and Arjuna, I offer my respectful obeisances. Shri Dakshinatya.
That was the author of this. Rupa Goswami compiled the prayers of others. He offers his respectful obeisances. You keep that. As a message to you. Govinda, here's your message from Rupa Goswami in your prayers. Right from the top.
Before I read the prayer, this music always makes me think of Krishna smoking. And my favorite story of that is his passing away story. He's the biggest smartass, excuse my language.
Yes.
He defeats all the demons from this big to millions of demons outside of Dwarka without a scratch. And then he gets shot in the foot, and oh no, he has to pass away.
There's deep meaning there.
And also the best sense of humor. I forgot my reading glasses, so excuse me. Sri Rama Janardana,
Wait, hold the microphone a little closer.
Sri Rama Janardana, rescuer of the devotees, Jagatamnata, master of the universe, Narayana Ananda, personified transcendental bliss, Dayapara, merciful one, Kamalakanta, husband of Lakshmi, Krishna, Lord, please make me become overwhelmed with tears streaming from my eyes as I repeatedly plunge into the waves of the great nectar ocean of these beautiful transcendental names. Sri Lakshmi Dara.
Something about the names there.
Every name of Krishna is an amazing ontological argument. They're all so fascinating. Each and every one.
Mohan?
O my rising dark moon, my child, are you not asleep? No.
Someone is talking about a prayer, a pastime of Krishna Yashoda.
No, sleep
Wait,
is...
from the beginning, start again.
O my rising dark moon, my child, are you not asleep? No, sleep has not yet come to me. Listen, my son, I'll tell you a bedtime story that will make you fall asleep. What is this story I've never heard? Please tell me. Mother Yasoda then told the story. When she came to the sentences, then Lord Nrsimha appeared from the pillar. Lord Nrsimha was very eager to rip the demon to shreds. A smile suddenly rose on child Krishna's lips. Sri Sarvananda.
How Krishna protected his boy devotee. Good story. You keep that. Anyone else? Oh, you raised your hand. You want to go again? Gopal. Okay. You're next.
Oh, my friend,
Since the moon of Krishna's face has appeared within the perception of my eyes, my mind has lost all discrimination. It no longer has a power to distinguish between the cooling Malayan breeze and the blazing fire. Sri Sanjaya Kavishekara.
Someone has been caught in the net of Krishna's beauty.
Oh, Mother Sundana.
Wait, are there others?
Oh, Mother Sundana. If a wise person in his heart serves your lotus feet, then any sins he may have done are all nullified. If he rejects your service, he gets all sinful reactions, even though he may not have done any sinful deeds.
Who is the author of that?
Unknown?
Unknown. Thank you. One more from there.
A dark complexioned thief has stolen my heart. Look, he has already stolen the sins of the surrendered devotees, the life breath of Putana, the bracelets and garments of the young gopis, and the eyes and ears of the saintly devotees. Unknown.
One last one before, not at the end, but anyone like to take one who's going to be brave enough to put up their hand? Yes. Shanta, okay, Shanta's next. And then we'll hear another pastime. Right from the very top.
O Lord, just as the miser continually connects, counts, and remembers his money, in the same way, let us continually collect, count, and remember your holy names. Shri Bhavananda.
Hare Krishna to all. Text 265. May Krishna, on whom, as he playfully lifted all Govardhana hill with his lotus hand, Mother Yashoda gazed with fear and pain, Radha gazed with pleasure to see the transcendental quality of her lover. The small naked Gopa boys happily gazed, thinking they were so strong as he and could also lift the hill if they tried. The Maharaja Nanda gazed with spontaneous terror, delight, and wonder. Protect you all, Sri Sunoka.
Let me see. I will read it again according to the music. May Krishna, on whom, as he playfully lifted tall Govardhan hill with his lotus hand, as he was doing that, Mother Yashoda gazed at him with fear and pain, because her little boy was. Radha gazed with pleasure to see the transcendental qualities of her. And the small naked Gopa boys happily gazed, thinking they were as strong as he. And they were thinking they could also lift the hill if they tried. And Nandaraj gazed with simultaneous terror, delight, and wonder. May that Krishna protect you all. May that Krishna protect you all. Jaktrini, Mataji, why don't you take one? Here comes the microphone.
Wearing a crown and his hand on the head of a cane, the Lord loudly sings the song sung by bulls when they challenge each other for the sake of a cow. Hearing the challenge, two large arrogant bulls appear and for a long time remain absorbed in the arts of battle. I pray, Lord Murari, the playful cowherd boy, who enjoys pastimes of protecting the cows and bulls, will always protect you.
Okay, who has a pastime to tell one of their favorite pastimes? Merlida, is that you raising your hand? Are you going to be able to do it to the great rhythms of the music?
This is a pastime from chapter 8 of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, where Krishna eats mud. One day, Krishna and his friends were in the forest playing around, and then Krishna suddenly decides to go alone, and he goes and eats a bit of earth. His friends see this and they hurriedly go and tell Balram, and the friends and Balram go to Mother Yashoda and complain, saying that Krishna has eaten mud today. Mother Yashoda gets very worried. She goes and calls Krishna and asks him, "Did you eat mud?" Your friends and even Balram is saying that. Krishna says, "No, I did not eat mud. They are envious of me and that's why they are complaining. I did not eat mud." Mother Yashoda says, "Don't tell lies." Krishna says, "No, I'm not telling a lie. If you want, you can go, you can see my mouth." So Mother Yashoda says, "Okay, open your mouth." And then Krishna opens his mouth. And then Mother Yashoda sees within the mouth the whole universe, the mountains, the galaxy of stars. She sees everything there, including herself, inside his mouth. She gets very baffled. She thinks, "What am I seeing? I'm seeing the whole universe inside." And she starts thinking that maybe Krishna is really God. And I have been thinking that he is my son, and Nanda Maharaj is the king of this place. But maybe
Krishna is my son. This thought just passes through her, and then she quickly realizes, no, it cannot be. Krishna is just like any other boy, stealing, eating butter. So this may not be correct. And quickly she catches him and says, puts him on her lap and says, he is after all my son. So this pastime, I liked it very much because we see in this pastime that the motherly affection overcomes the, the greatness of God is being overcome by the maternal love of the mother. And I read that this particular pastime is supposed to be the most important pastime in the 10th canto, which says the Aishwarya gets lost under the Madhurya. So I like this pastime very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Goga Panyao. Lampoyan. You take one too.
Text 126. Go ahead and worship Lord Brahma. Go ahead and worship Lord Shiva. Go ahead and worship the Supreme Brahman. I will not follow you. I will simply worship Vrindavana first, which brought transcendental delight to Lord Krishna.
I am drowning in the painful fathomless whirlpool of repeated birth and death. O Lord, O friend of the shelterless, O effulgent moon of mercy, please at this one time quickly extend your hand to save me. Sri Rupa Goswami.
Someone wants to go. Okay. Let's go on.
I think his father has to go with him.
Yeah.
Other hand.
Right.
If you use your right hand, you'll be right. And if you use your left hand, you'll be left. Okay, you pick now. Okay, you read. Is it going to be hard for him to read?
Yes.
Okay, so what will we do?
I'll read it for you.
Okay.
Let me read my Hare Hare Krishna. Text 259. His flute tucked into his belt, one lotus hand on a surabhi cow's back and the other holding a stick. Lotus-eyed Krishna entered the village of Raja, author unknown. Haribo.
Is that one yours or your son?
This was mine.
Okay. Your sons will probably be philosophical.
Yeah. Text 47. His handsome form gracefully bending in trees places, his beautiful earrings reaching to his shoulders.
Earrings? Beautiful.
Beautiful earrings,
yes,
reaching to his shoulders. The veins of his eyebrows slightly raised, his glance crooked, his delicate lips slightly pursed, and his flowers blossom fingers moving restlessly. Krishna happily enchants the entire world as he fills his flute with music under a kalpa varsha tree. In this way, one may meditate on Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Whose one was that? No, yes. Yes.
No, no.
Yes.
So you have to meditate upon Krishna in that way as he plays his flute, and it chants everyone. Okay? Would you like to do that? Thank you. Since we're not going to have time, certainly for everyone, but everyone can come and take one after. But we do have a little more time. I think Yamunacharya is just like ready to like jump forward, and then Ankita too. The first Yamunacharya and then Ankita.
Krishna!
That's the spirit.
You are cavorting, playing in the waters of Yamuna. When you get caught up in the embrace of Kalia's coils, and you stay there, motionless, for 48 minutes. And the whole of the village of Vrindavan comes down on the bank, and they're in complete lamentation. This is devastation for them, and yet you stay there until the last of the young gopis comes. And then, in a minute, you've leapt out of the coils onto the head of Kalia, and you start dancing, and you're so beautiful, and it's so wonderful. You leap from head to head of Kalia. It's like a stage that's continuously moving, and you're leaping and dancing. You're so beautiful.
I'm going to tell you, you also have to take one.
I have to take one.
Yeah. You can bring them. If Yamunacharya won't come to the bag will come to Yamunacharya. And you can give one to Ankita too. Let her take one. Give one to her. Thank you. Okay.
When in Vrindavan forest, which is glorified by the Yamuna's touch, will I continually wander, filled with the longings of love, loudly chanting the transcendental pastimes of Gokula's king, Krishna, and thickly sprinkling the trees with streams of tears from my eyes. And that's by Sri Rupa Goswami.
That was, if I understood correctly, you were saying, when will that time be mine?
Yes.
Resting on
Oh,
half
okay.
his feet, grasping the under between his thumb and finger, spraying himself with 2 or 3 stray drops, and making a charming stream of milk pour into the pail balanced between his arched knees. Damodara milks a Subri cow, Sri Sarana.
It was a little hard for me to hear it, so, but it was clear to you? Okay, something for you to think about, someone for you to think about. Okay, one last pastime, and then we'll end this section. Would anyone like to say? I know Lalita has a pastime in her mind. I know that she doesn't. No. Who would like to say a pastime? Gopal.
Krishna enters the wrestling arena of Kamsa, and him, along with his brother Balaram, defeat all the powerful wrestlers that Kamsa has arranged. And the audience watching begin discussing how this is unethical that Kamsa has placed such great warriors to fight these young boys, these simple cowherd boys. And Kamsa, out of frustration and anger, says that he will punish severely all the residents of Vrindavan. And as soon as he says this, Krishna goes and gets Kamsa from his throne, pulls him by the hair, drags him to the arena, and with one jump on his body, finishes Kamsa's life.
Haribol. Enough, Prabhu? You have one? How about these there?
Not by wearing saffron cloth, not by restricting food and other sense activities, not by living in the forest, not by discussing philosophy, and not by observing a vow of silence, but only by even the slightest beginning of devotional service to the lotus feet of Lord Govinda, who enjoys pastimes on the Jamuna's wide banks, is Kamadev stopped. Author unknown.
Okay, this is Radharman set the standard of actually ending on time regardless of anything, so I will follow suit. And Hare Krishna, thank you. If anyone would like a personalized prayer to offer to Krishna, there they are. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Krishna ki jai, Gopinath ki jai, Shri Krishna Bhagavan Purana ki jai, Sadguru Swami ki jai, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Bhagavan Nityananda ki jai, Hari Bol Krishna ki jai, Prabhupada Bhakti ki jai, Hari Bol.
Thank you, Guru Jampu, for guiding us in remembering Krishna's pastimes and making Krishna consciousness very real. The next part of our program will be led by Sri Radha Mahaprabhu, and it will be a meditative kirtan meditation. So again, encourage everyone to squeeze in so that people around can also fit in into this room. There's some space if we'll move forward a little bit.
Krishna
all together. Krishna
Shri Radha Gopinath ki, Shri Vrindavan Shri Radhe Shyam Sundar ki, Krishna Balaram Shri Gauratai ki, Srimati Radha Rani ki, Shri Radhe Shyam Shri Vrindavan Shri Gauratai ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Shri Janmastami Mahamahotsav Vrindavan Bihari Lal Bhagavan Shri Krishna ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Nitai Gaur
Thank you, Sri Radha Mahaprabhu. Our next program will be led by a special speaker, surprising to us, Lalita. Hariyo! She will be taking us on another exploration of the Krishna book.
Hi Krishna, everyone. This is the first time I've ever done something like this, so if you could all really help me by listening really well, because there may be questions at the end or at any time. So I thought to read or share a chapter of the Krishna book that will give you a feel and take us through a day where Krishna and his cowherd boys go into the forest, so we can go along with them and see what happens. As the morning passed and the cowherd boys were very hungry because they had not eaten breakfast, they immediately approached Krishna and Balaram and said, "Dear Krishna and Balaram, you are both all-powerful. You can kill many, many demons. But today we are much afflicted with hunger, and this is disturbing us. Please arrange for something that will mitigate our hunger." Requested in this way by their friends, Lord Krishna and Balaram arranged to show compassion to certain wives of Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices. These wives were great devotees of the Lord, and Krishna took this opportunity to bless them. He said, "My dear friends, please go to the house of the Brahmanas nearby. They are now engaged in performing the Vedic sacrifice known as Angirasa, for they desire elevation to the heavenly planets. All of you, please go to them." Then Lord Krishna warned his friends, "These Brahmins are not Vaishnavas. They cannot even chant our names, Krishna and Balaram. They are very busy in chanting the Vedic hymns, although the purpose of Vedic knowledge is to find me. But because they are not attracted by the names of Krishna and Balaram, you had better not ask them for anything in my name. Better ask for some charity in the name of Balaram." So here's the first question. Why not in Krishna's name? Why Balaram? Or why not both? They're brothers. Does anyone have an answer to that? Okay.
Because Balaram was known as a Kshatriya and Krishna was known as the son of Nanda Maharaj.
Why was
as a
Balaram
Vaishya.
known as a Kshatriya?
Because his mother was Rohini, who was known as Vasudev's wife.
He was known as Vasudev's son, as opposed to Krishna being known as Nanda's son.
Wow.
So it's about the fathers. So being thus ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all the boys went to the Brahmins and began to ask for some charity. They approached them with folded hands and fell down to the ground to offer respect. "O earthly gods, kindly hear us, who were ordered by Lord Krishna and Balaram." Notice the names they used, or name they used when they were begging. "We hope you know them both very well, and we wish you all good fortune. Krishna and Balaram are tending cows nearby, and we have accompanied them. We have come to ask for some food from you. You are all Brahmanas and knowers of religious principles, and if you think that you should give us charity, then give us some food, and we shall all eat along with Krishna and Balaram. You are the most respectable Brahmanas within the human society, and you are expected to know all the principles of religious procedure. Lord Vishnu, as Krishna and Balaram, is standing and waiting. And you should immediately deliver whatever food you have in your stock." They also explain to the Brahmins when food is to be accepted and when it is not to be accepted. "We can take food at the present stage of your ceremony, for now it will not be prohibited, so you can deliver us the food." Although the boys were village boys and were not expected to be learned in all of the Vedic principles of religious ritual, they hinted that because of their association with Krishna and Balaram, they knew all of those principles. The Brahmins were very much interested in the comforts of the material body and an elevation to the higher planetary residences called Svarga. They were therefore completely unable to understand the position of Krishna. When the boys saw that the Brahmins would not reply to them, even with a simple yes or a no, they became very much disappointed. Then they returned to Lord Krishna and Balaram and explained everything that had happened. After hearing their statements, the Supreme Personality of Godhead smiled. He told them that they should not be sorry for being refused by the Brahmins, because that is the way of begging. Lord Krishna then asked all the boys to go again, but this time to the wives of those Brahmins engaged in sacrifices. He also informed them that these wives were great devotees. They are always absorbed in thinking of us. Go there and ask for some food in my name and the name of Balaram, and I am sure that they will deliver you as much food as you desire. Carrying out Krishna's order, the boys immediately went to the wives of the Brahmins. They found the wives sitting inside the Brahmin's house. They were very beautifully decorated with ornaments. After offering them all respectful obeisances, the boys said, "Dear mothers, please accept our humble obeisances and hear our statement. May we inform you that Lord Krishna and Balaram are nearby. They have come here with the cows. And you may know also that we have come here under their instructions. All of us are very hungry. Therefore, we have come to you for some food. Please give us something to eat for Krishna, Balaram, and ourselves." Immediately upon hearing this, the wives of the Brahmins became anxious for Krishna and Balaram. These reactions were spontaneous. They did not have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna and Balaram. Immediately upon hearing their names, they became very eager to see them. All the wives then became very busily engaged in filling up different pots with nice food. Due to the performance of the sacrifice, the various foods were all very palatable. After collecting a feast, they prepared to go to Krishna, their most beloved object, exactly in the way rivers flow to the sea. For a long time, the wives had been eager to see Krishna. However, when they were preparing to leave home to go see him, their husbands, fathers, sons, and relatives asked them not to go. What do you think they did? Did they listen to their elders? They're supposed to. No? Let's see. The wives did not comply. The woman entered the forest of Vrindavan on the bank of the Yamuna, which was verdant with vegetation and newly grown vines and flowers. Within that forest, they saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in tending the cows, along with their very affectionate boyfriends. If you could all close your eyes for a minute while you hear this next description, and you can see Krishna hopefully in your mind as they saw him in person. The Brahmin's wives saw Krishna with a blackish complexion, wearing a garment that glittered like gold. He wore a nice garland of forest flowers and a peacock feather on his head. He was also painted with the minerals found in Vrindavan, and he looked exactly like a dancing actor on a theatrical stage. They saw him resting one hand on the shoulder of his friend, and in his other hand, he was holding a lotus flower. His ears were decorated with lilies. He wore marks of tilak, and he was smiling charmingly. With their very eyes, the wives of the Brahmins saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of whom they had heard so much, who was so dear to them, and in whom their minds were always absorbed. Now they saw him eye to eye and face to face, and Krishna entered within their hearts through their eyes. Within themselves, they began to embrace Krishna to their heart's content, and the distress of separation was mitigated immediately. As the Supersoul living in everyone's heart, Lord Krishna could understand their minds. They had come to him despite all the protests. They came just to see him, who was their life and soul. Krishna welcomed them with the following words. My dear wives of the Brahmanas, you were all very fortunate and are welcome here. Please let me know. What can I do for you? You're coming here to see me, neglecting all the restrictions and hindrances of relatives, fathers, brothers, and husbands is completely befitting. My dear wives of the Brahmins, you can now return to your home. Does any of that sound familiar? Like you've heard Krishna say similar words before? To who? The gopis. He says, you can now return home. Thank you. Engage yourselves in sacrificial activities and in the service of your husbands and household affairs, so that your husbands will be pleased with you, and the sacrifice which they began will be properly executed. After all, your husbands are householders. Without your help, how can they execute their prescribed duties? The wives of the Brahmin replied, Dear Lord, this sort of instruction does not befit you. Your eternal promise is that you will always protect your devotees. And now ye must fulfill this promise. Anyone who comes and surrenders unto you never goes back to the conditional life of material existence. We expect that you will now fulfill your promise. We have surrendered unto your lotus feet, so we have no desire to give up the shelter of your lotus feet and return to the company of our so-called relatives, friends, and society. Our husbands, brothers, fathers, sons, mothers, and friends will no longer accept us at home because we've already left them all. Therefore, we have no shelter to return to. Please, therefore, do not ask us to return home, but arrange for our stay under your lotus feet so that we can eternally live under your protection. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, My dear wives of the Brahmins, rest assured that your husbands will not neglect you on your return, nor will your brothers, sons, or fathers refuse to accept you. Because you were my pure devotees, not only your relatives, but also people in general, as well as the demigods, will be satisfied with you. After being instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all of the wives returned home to their respective husbands. Pleased to see their wives back at home, the Brahmins sat together with them and executed the performances of sacrifices as enjoined in the sastras. One of the Brahmins' wives, however, who had been forcibly checked from going to see Krishna, began to remember him as she heard of his bodily features. Being completely absorbed in his thought, she gave up her material body. After the departure of the Brahmins' wives, Sri Govinda and his coward boyfriends enjoyed the food they had offered. In this way, the ever-joyful personality of Godhead exhibited his transcendental pastimes in the guise of an ordinary human being in order to attract the common people, meaning us, to Krishna consciousness. After the return of their wives from Krishna, the Brahmins engaged in the performance of sacrifices, and they began to regret their sinful activities in refusing food to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They could finally understand their mistake. Engaged in the performance of Vedic rituals, they had neglected the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had appeared just like an ordinary human being and asked for some food. They began to condemn themselves after seeing the faith and devotion of their wives. They began to talk among themselves. To hell with our being born Brahmins. To hell with our learning all the Vedic literatures. To hell with our performing great sacrifices and observing all the rules and regulations. To hell with our family. To hell with our expert service in performing the rituals exactly according to the description of the scriptures. To hell with it all, for we have not developed transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is beyond the speculation of the mind, body, and senses. Although we are considered to be masters in all purificatory processes, we did not actually know what their goal is, because we are too much attached to the materialistic way of life. Even though we were reminded of Krishna and Balaram by the coward boys, we disregarded them. We now think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead simply played a trick of his mercy on us by sending his friends to beg food from us. Otherwise, he had no need to send them. He could have satisfied their hunger then and there just by willing to do so. The Brahmins repented their sinful activities. They wanted to go personally to offer their obeisances unto him. but being afraid of Kamsa, they could not go to Krishna and surrender unto him. The example of the learned Brahmins and their wives is vivid. The wives of the Brahmins, because they were inspired by pure devotional service, did not care for any kind of opposition. They immediately went to Krishna. But the Brahmins, although they had come to know the supremacy of the Lord and were repenting, were still afraid of King Kamsa because they were too much addicted to fruitive activities. How did that story make you feel? Or is there anything that stood out that you remember and struck you?
The wives were fearless. Completely fearless.
Anyone else or anything else? Are there any lessons? Oh, sorry.
I feel covered over like the Brahmanas.
But you're not.
No.
But you're not.
No fighting now.
Are there any lessons that we can apply or take home?
I learned that it's not necessary that we by heart all the verses, all the rituals and everything. It's just our bhava towards Krishna. It's our love towards Krishna that attracts him, because that's how he connects with us and we connect with him.
And also I was thinking, remembering what the goal is, Krishna being the goal, what our ultimate purpose is, why we're doing what we're doing. Anything else?
Krishna tested the wives when they made the ultimate sacrifice and came, and still he tested them. So we're going to be tested.
Felt similar to the gopis. Similar.
So we have to be ready to be tested.
How could they live in the forest? They were willing to.
They made the ultimate sacrifice, and still Krishna tested them.
And they listened to him when he said, go home.
Surrender.
Yeah. Double sacrifice.
Sold out.
The lesson I learned is it's very easy to miss the goal.
And what about fear? How the story ended. Even after the Brahmins realized we're so stupid, Krishna was just here, they still couldn't see him because of Kamsa.
Not because of Kamsa, because of fear.
Okay, thank you all so much. And
That was wonderful. I think this will have to be a common occurrence.
Yes.
Thank you. One more round of applause for Love. We're just missing Jay, aren't we? Don't worry, 2025 Janmastami. How is everyone?
was my inspiration. Double.
How's everyone feeling? Do we need a couple minutes to stand up and stretch as we've all been patiently sitting, attentively listening? So if we can have a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes, just to stand up, stretch your legs while we get prepared for the next part of the program, which will be given by Jagatarini Mataji.
Haribo.
3 or 4 minutes maximum, please, everyone.
For a medal.
So many things.
Did you get one of these? Yes, I did. I was waiting to read it again. Wow. Have you got any more pictures? Yeah, she's pretty What was Wait, when are you taking me? Are you serious? You've been saying yeah. What are the hurdles you've got to jump over to get He's present. Can you use it? Oh, you? I need some. But is it on X? Oh, round struggling. You just need somebody who's fine. Yeah, I've got it. Oh, that's easier than I thought. Yeah, like she understands. So if she's holding something and I'll be like up on like give, and she was like literally going to
No, we just entered. We were just looking at it.
like, and I think
We just
yes, I mean it doesn't matter. No.
Yeah, sister. It really was. You put it back in. Yeah. You've got to just, she's got a picture like your friend. It's not, it's still not participants. Like, here's the situation.
Hare Krishna.
Need a pill.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. If everyone could please return so we can continue with the program. Please find a seat so that we can move on with the program.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
So the next part of the program will be by Jagaturini Mataji, who will be showing us how to get to know Gopinath. It is titled Getting to Know Gopinath. He is the central figure here at Gopinath Dham, and we've heard so much about Krishna, Gopinath, already. And so Mataji will continue in that mood and help us get to know the person who we are serving.
So, I would like to share with you all a little bit of the history of this very small Krishna deity. Or, actually, you will see very small, three deities together. So, oftentimes you'll see, always actually, you'll see Krishna and Radha together. But generally you don't see Krishna and Radha and another gopi. Unless you're seeing Lalita on one side and Vishaka on the other. So I would like to first go back to 1970 when I was living in Sydney and I happened to see a crowd forming in a park. And so I walked over to see what they were doing, and I saw that they were chanting, and I also saw that they were wearing orange robes, and so I thought immediately that they must be Buddhists. So one of those two orange-robed men came over to me and handed me a card. And the card, of course, as you can well imagine, had the mantra on it, and underneath it said, chant Hare Krishna, it will free you from all anxiety. Now, when I saw that card, it wasn't the words Hare Krishna that struck me, it was the word anxiety. Because all of us have our various anxieties in life, and I did also. And so I really grabbed that card and I took it home with me. And after a few days of chanting the mantra, I decided to go and visit them because there was an address on the back. And when I went there was one young American, one of those two monks, one young American, his name was Upendra. And Upendra had been living previously in Los Angeles it come as the first 2 Hare Krishna devotees to come to Australia. And I then started to go to the temple, visiting them, and a little bit I got to know Upendra. Soon after that, I was about to leave for Los Angeles. And Upendra told me that when I got to America, he said, it's a very Mayic place. Now, I didn't know what that meant at all. It had no relevance to me. But he said to me, I'll write you a letter and invite you and tell you to go to the temple there. So I thought to myself, if he writes a letter, I'll go to the temple. And sure enough, he did. And in the letter, I still remember, he said, Los Angeles is full of, and he wrote this again, M-A-Y-A, and he put like sunbeams in every direction all around the word. And I didn't know what it meant, but it seemed like I should go there. So then, when I went to the temple, somehow or another, I remained there. I didn't intend to. I was on my way to England. But somehow or another, I felt that it was important for me to stay there for some time. And so I did. And of course, that changed all my values completely. And then, within 6 months, my visa to America, tourist visa, expired. And so an arrangement was made that I should go to Hong Kong and
What were
get
you
married.
going to do there?
Well, I was going to buy a watch and a TV and a few other things, and also supposed to get married. So I was off to Hong Kong, and I got married, and somehow or another, through
We're still married.
through thick and thin, we stayed together in Hong Kong for 4 years, which was really, really, really hard. But by the end of 4 years, we'd had enough. And so we came back to Melbourne, where I had come from originally, so done the full circle, back to Melbourne. And we stayed in Melbourne 1974, 75, 76. And in 1974, Lalita was born. And in 1976, Lalita was 18 months old, and we traveled with Srila Prabhupada, actually, on the same flight from Melbourne to Auckland, from Auckland to Fiji, and then from Fiji on from there to Hawaii, and there we stayed for a few days.
Weeks?
Really? Okay. Weeks, and then we went on, without Srila Prabhupada's company, we went on to America. And when we got to America, we lived primarily in a farming community. It was a very simple, small, devotional farming community, and we stayed there for almost the next 5 years. And then, as fate would have it, my husband developed a desire to spend 1 year in Vrindavan. So
I told you 1 year maybe, but just,
what can you do? So we ended up going to Vrindavan for that year, and we ended up staying there for 12 years. And we brought with us one Jay, who was 3 years old, and he quickly learnt the language and became quite a natural in Vrindavan. And then in 1995, we left Vrindavan and we came here to live in Perth. And meanwhile, my devotee friend, Upendra, had gone on in his own life. And at some point, he had left the company of devotees and become quite lost. But by 1996, he was terminally ill. And the devotees in Australia who remembered that he was one of the first two pioneers of Australia, they raised enough money to bring him, even though he was terminally ill, from America to New Govardhan in New South Wales. And there, the devotees took care of him as his health deteriorated until he passed away. And one of the devotees who was taking care of him was a friend of mine. And one day, after he departed, she sent me a letter. And I still remember it arrived around the time of my birthday or thereabouts. And it felt a little chubby, something was inside, a little padded. And when I opened the letter, there was a letter and there was a small pouch about this big. And inside of that pouch, there was an explanation of the gift. She told me that this deity is 1 inch in size, belonged to Upendra. And when Upendra was lost, he would go to many places that devotees would never go. But he had this one peculiarity. He would always wear his bead bag around his neck, even when he would go to places that devotees never go. And inside his bead bag, he had been carrying this pouch with this little tiny figure of Krishna inside the pouch. And now, she said, this is Gopinath. His name is Gopinath. And I think that you might like to take care of him. Well, he's this big. How do you take care of a figure that's 1 inch in size? And so I asked different people, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to do some puja? What should I do? And they said, he's too small. And they unanimously suggested to me that he's too small to really put on a temple, in the temple and worship. He's too small. And so the first thing I did with him was I put him on Srila Prabhupada's lap. And I left him there for a few weeks, not wanting to lose him and not knowing what to do next. And then I thought, he needs a seat. He can't sit there forever in Prabhupada's cloth. He needs his own little seat. And so one day, I made him, out of some little piece of wood, I made him a small seat. Put him on the seat. And he looked quite comfortable on that seat. However, the seat was only this big. So he's got a little more size to him. And then maybe some weeks later, I thought, he needs like a temple or a small miniature-sized house, something to put the seat in, so I don't lose him, I don't lose the seat, and he should be in there. And so I made him a little house. I went here and there and found little pieces of things to put together and made a house. And then I thought, a house needs a few trees, it needs a few other people. He must be lonely. So I got him a picture of Radha about this big, a tiny little picture, and I stuck it on a base of some sort, and I put the picture beside him, because now I didn't want Gopinath to be without any gopis. So now we have Radha Gopinath. But I was also thinking that this was rather temporary, this little piece of paper, and he really needed a Radharani. And so, I think it was in 1998, we went to Vrindavan, and I was on a mission to find him a similar sized Radharani. And so I first went to Delhi and I looked all around in all these antique shops and old places where you might find something you wouldn't find normally, and I couldn't find one. And then I came to Vrindavan and I asked my friend, who's a silversmith, I said, can you make a figure this big to go with this Gopinath? And he looked at me and said, no. He said, it's too small. First you have to make a figure out of stone, put it in the sand, pour the silver, it won't work. But then he did. He made a figure. And when I saw the figure, I thought, wow, the head is rather large. It just didn't quite look like a couple. So I said to him, his name was Narayan, I said, Narayan, could you try again? And he looked at me with one of those looks like, I already told you I can't do it. And I said, could you try again? And so he did. And when he called me next to come and see, there were these two figures. And I was like, well, which one should I take? And I figured I have to take them both because they're both there. They were both made with a small particle of gold, so they wouldn't tarnish. And so there they were, the two figures. And so I brought them home and I placed one on either side of him, not knowing exactly why. And then some of us went to the Radha Gopinath temple in Vrindavan, and we brought with us a silver box with the three figures in the box. And what I was thinking, because not so bright, I was thinking that he's Gopinath, and this is the Gopinath that was worshipped in Vrindavan in ancient times or hundreds of years ago. I should bring my Gopinath and put him at the feet of this Gopinath, and that will make my Gopinath's worship more potent. This was my thinking. So I came into the temple and I asked the pujari, could you please put this box at the feet of Gopinath? And he looked at me as if I was a little bit crazy. And he took the box and he placed the box right next to his heart, just resting on the arm of Radha Gopinath. He said, Krishna is Krishna, you can't put him at the feet of Krishna. And he left him there for some time. And then we went from there, we went to Jaipur, and there's a Radha Gopinath in Jaipur, the original Radha Gopinath that was there in the time of Rupa Goswami in Vrindavan. And we again placed our Gopinath in the hands, in the arm of Radha Gopinath there. And we went to Raimuna, which is in Orissa, because there's a Radha Gopinath there, very famous, Madhavendra Puri's Leela place. And again we asked the pujari, and the pujari took the deity and placed him there. And finally we went to Jagannath Puri. And this is my favorite of all places, Gopinath, is Tota Gopinath. It's the only Gopinath you'll ever see that's sitting down. And so we asked the pujari, and the pujari said yes, and he took the Gopinaths in his box and he placed him on the top of a whole big pile of shalagram shilas, which are worshipped in order to worship the large sitting down deity of Tota Gopinath, into whose body Lord Chaitanya departed from this world. This deity is so monumental. And we sat down like children and started to have a little kirtan, and we were expecting that in a couple of minutes he'd give us blessings and we could leave. Like children, like the children outside playing. And then I was getting a little restless, and I sort of looked at the pujari and sort of indicated, please give him back. And the pujari goes, and so we sit a little longer, and we have a little more chanting, we get a little restless, and we say to the pujari, it was time to go, and the pujari goes like this. And 3 or 4 times this happened. He would give him back. And then we sat there for many hours until the arti, and when the arti was finished, then he very ceremoniously gave Gopinath back. And then we took him to the most mysterious place in all of Jagannath Puri, which is called the Gambhira. Gambhira is the place where Lord Chaitanya resided when he was in Puri, and it's a very mysterious place. And there we managed an amazing feat, because there is a deity of a personality called Gopal Guru who goes into the Gambhira. They carry him inside this secret room that you can't get in. You can look through a little hole. That deity goes inside at certain times. So we knew the pujari, and we asked the pujari, could you tuck our Gopinath into the cloth of Gopal Guru? And on Lord Nityananda's appearance day, he was taken right into the inner chambers where Lord Chaitanya resided for so many years. And then he was secretly brought back out and handed back to us. So then we thought we should start building up a kind of some sort of an idea of worshipping him. And we had our little house, we had our little trees, and we had his little throne, and also one very elderly lady made a little silver plate this big, and one tiny little cup this big. So he had a little cup and a little plate and a little house, and then it just started. One after another an idea would come, one after another. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And each idea involved more figures, new figures. And I knew somebody in Vrindavan who I knew was a good carver. And so somehow or other, each time somebody would go to Vrindavan, I would send a message with a list of new figures to be made. And they were carved out of soapstone. And you can see, if you look behind the flowers on the upper shelf, you'll see there the 8 main gopis who serve Radha Gopinath, and the 8 main assistants of those gopis who are called manjaris, younger, and they serve those 8 main gopis. And all of them also came at the same time. You might be thinking, if you're half paying attention, you might be thinking, so who was the other figure? So the other figure on the other side, on the side where normally you see Srimati Radharani, that figure with a little bit larger head, that figure is Srimati Radharani's sister, Ananga Manjari. And on the side where sometimes you see Lalita, that's Radharani, and she has placed her sister on the other side where she normally stands, so that her sister can experience the pleasure of being with Krishna. So this is Gopinath. He's the Lord of all the gopis. He's the Lord of all our hearts as well, particularly if we let him become that. So we went from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, making one display, the next one. And we also got, as you see on our altar in here, on the top shelf, that was Gopinath's Vrindavan place. And I would make different Leela stories and depict them there. On the next level down was Jagannath Puri. So we made a semblance of a Rath Yatra cart, Lord Jagannath's temple, and Lord Chaitanya, particularly Lord Chaitanya, showing Ramananda Roy, showing him how he is actually no different than Radha and Krishna. And so it went on, and then we came down and we said, we need a Panchatattva, we need to have Mayapur Dham here as well. And so we found one man in Jagannath Puri who was very friendly. He was also a shopkeeper, but he knew an India-acclaimed carver who could carve even more miniature than Gopinath at about 3/4 of an inch. And if you look at that Panchatattva in there, they're so finely carved that it's actually quite amazing. I never even wanted to paint them. It would be impossible because they're so refined. And then we thought, if we want to approach Gopinath through this chain of succession, we need to also have a representation of the various Vaishnavas who have given us this knowledge, who are protecting us and taking us forward on the path of devotional life. And so slowly by slowly we also collected all of them. And now we had our altar. Gopinath is on the top, the other personalities are there, and it seemed as though that was enough. But it wasn't, because then he started to inspire different dioramas for different functions, because we couldn't make clothes for him, couldn't make any dress, any kind of attire for him. So we'd get an idea, make a new diorama, make a new diorama, paint those figures that came from Vrindavan and set them up. And slowly we gathered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the idea came, what are you going to do with them all? They didn't exist before. Now they're all there. What will we do with them? And the first thing that came to mind was, if we had a caravan, we could take everything out of the inside. We could paint it really nicely. We could make a traveling museum. So we got a caravan. And we set it up. Somebody came and they took out all of the insides and they set it up, and all the dioramas that I had made until then fitted inside. But we kept making them more and more and more and more. And then the thought came, we need a big room somewhere to put these dioramas in. We actually need a house. You can see this is like the story of Matsya, the fish. He first came as a very small fish, and the king took him, he said to the king, please protect me, put him in a glass jar, and then he started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then he had to take him out of the jar and put him into a well. Then he got too big and had to put him into a lake, and then he had to put him finally into the ocean. So Gopinath, he did like that. And from his altar, which is here in the temple room, expanded the Sacred India Gallery. And everything that followed that, it all came from this very tiny, small, but very potent figure of Gopinath. And I was always reminded, in taking care of him, of what he endured to take care of Upendra. Because Upendra wasn't doing very well. He was breaking every rule and regulation that he had agreed to follow as a devotee. And Gopinath went with him everywhere. So I thought to myself, if he can go everywhere with Upendra, I'm not that bad. I may not be able to worship him properly, but certainly we can welcome him and take care of him in a way that would make him happy. And so eventually we came here. In 2002 we came here, and we were looking at the double garage, which is now the Vrindavan section of the gallery. It had 2 doors, for the man who owned this place had a Rolls Royce. And what was striking was that generally in a double garage, it's rough. But this double garage had all the roofing and everything. It looked kind of almost like a room. And so we chose this place only for that. We came out and lived here. We bought the caravan, but the caravan was no longer needed. And Gopinath continued and continued and continued to grow. So now we have Sacred India Valley, Sacred India Gallery, and we also are just beginning to expand seriously our Vrinda Valley idea, which is to more or less put in a simplified way, it's how can we use the whole of these 5 acres that are dedicated to Gopinath for the benefit and the pleasure and the growth, spiritual growth, of whomsoever we can help by allowing them to come into this atmosphere, which is, it's like electrified by the presence of this tiny, tiny deity. One time, a friend of mine, it was a long time ago actually, in the very beginning, she had a dream. And she wrote me a letter and told me, she said, I had a dream. And in this dream, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, was going on a parikrama. And there was a whole bunch of devotees with him, and he was walking along, and he came to a rock, and he stopped, and he looked at the rock, and he pointed to the rock, and there was an impression in the rock. And she said, and the impression in the rock was just like Gopinath. And although that was just a dream, and we know not the relevance or literal significance of it, it helped me to understand how, when we worship and we try to sanctify the atmosphere by placing it as best we can in his charge, it's his already, and we're saying, you be in charge of this. I'll try and follow you. Not you come into my house, and help me with my family, but you come and I'll try and please you. It's a little reversal, but it's a very powerful one. Now, there's more I could say, but what I wanted to do was give you an assignment. So let me just see here what I can share with you. Okay, so I have here with me a lot of cards, and I would like to share them with you for the purpose of writing your own prayer. Now, just to give you something to think about, when you write a prayer, there's a formula. First of all, you offer your respects, because that's natural. And then you praise the person. You find something very nice to say about them, because you're approaching them. And then in your mind on paper, you offer them something. If I had this, I would give this to you. Just even in your imagination, it becomes a real offering. And then you ask for what you most desire. And sometimes your desire might be to remove something from the heart, which is troublesome. It might be to increase something that you're weak in. It might be something very, very wonderful that you hope for. Or it may be just to sort of keep going. Please help me to just keep going. There are many, many songs, bhajans, in all these different categories that allow you to express yourself to Gopinath, to Krishna, and to draw and attract his attention in exchange. So I'm going to give these out, and I want you to take one and write in it. Write your prayer, write your desire. Write your desire even if it's ridiculous. But if it's ridiculous, acknowledge it as ridiculous. That means if you say, I just want to love you 24 hours a day, then you must say also, but I'm not very good at it, so I probably won't be able to do that, but it would be very nice if I could. Because then it becomes real, not just some sort of a words only. And along with that, I have something else that I want to do before I give those out. I think I have them here. My little box. Or if I don't, I'll go, yes I do. I have these cards. And each one of these cards has a picture of Krishna on the front. And it's empty at the back, blank. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read to you Krishna's 64 qualities. Gopinath's 64 qualities. And I'm going to ask you in exchange to listen as best you can and see which qualities strike a chord with you. Either one, either two, three, whatever. But try to listen and see if there's any of his qualities that you would like to emulate in your own heart. So this, what I'm going to read to you, is from Srila Rupa Goswami again. Srila Rupa Goswami wrote a book called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The ocean, Sindhu is the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. So the word rasa means the flavor, the essence, the mellow, the taste of something. So he was writing about, and Prabhupada translated that title, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, into the nectar of devotion. So what I want to do is read these qualities to you and see if you can remember any of them, and if you do, write them down on your card, the other card, the second one I will give you, this one, and place it within this one, and keep this. 2022 we did an exercise like this, and everybody placed their cards in front of Gopinath. And you can place your card in front of Gopinath if you want to, but I think it would be very nice to keep this and place it somewhere so you could remember it and read it again. It was amazing. This afternoon when we were getting ready, I opened a cupboard over there, and what should I see but a pile like this of cards from 2022. And some of those cards, the devotees who wrote them are here. So they can look at them again and see what they were thinking in 2022 and how much they may have progressed since then, because that's how it works. So let me begin. Krishna has beautiful features of his entire body. He is marked with all auspicious characteristics. He is extremely pleasing. He is effulgent, strong, ever youthful. Now you know something, I'll tell you a secret. Listen to these very carefully, because you know why? Because these are also the characteristics of ourselves in our pure spiritual forms. We have these qualities too in a minute degree. But currently, our presence within this body is tiny, tiny, tiny. We're powering the body from a very tiny size. But were we to develop our love for Krishna, we would discover that these qualities are also our qualities. Extremely pleasing, effulgent, strong, ever youthful, a wonderful linguist, truthful, talks pleasingly, is fluent, highly learned, highly intelligent, a genius, artistic, extremely clever, expert, grateful, firmly determined, an expert judge of time and circumstances. He sees and speaks only on the authority of the Vedas or the scriptures. He is pure, self-controlled, steadfast, forbearing, forgiving, grave, self-satisfied, possessing equilibrium, magnanimous, which means very, very, very kind, religious, heroic, compassionate, respectful, gentle, liberal, shy, the protector of other surrendered souls, happy, the well-wisher of devotees, and controlled by love. So those and four more, it is all auspicious, most powerful, all famous, and popular. These qualities, actually I beg your pardon, there's a couple more, partial to devotees, all worshipable, all opulent, and all honorable. Those qualities are also our qualities. Now, above us, there are the devas, Lord Shiva and the demigods. And therefore, there are a few more qualities that they possess, but we don't possess them. For example, they are changeless. They know everything. They're ever fresh. They are Sat Chit Ananda. They have eternal blissful bodies. And they possess all mystic perfections. That's 55 qualities. And there are 4 more qualities that only Lord Narayan and Krishna possess. He has inconceivable potency. Uncountable universes generate from his body. He is the original source of all incarnations, and he is the giver of salvation to the enemies whom he kills. He is attractive to the liberated souls. Now, there's 4 qualities that only Krishna has. 4 qualities, only Krishna has these. Here they are. He is the performer of beautiful pastimes, especially childhood pastimes. No Deva, no Lord Narayan, no other demigod, nobody else has childhood pastimes like Krishna has. He is surrounded always by devotees endowed with this beautiful, wonderful love for him. He can attract everyone in the universe by the sound of his flute. And he has a wonderful excellence of beauty which cannot be rivaled anywhere. Now, I know I gave you 64, that's a lot, but if you can remember any of them, you can put them on your card. So now I would like to, Gopal can help me to distribute these for you. So everyone should get a card to write in your prayer, your wish, your hope, your dream, and a picture of Krishna to write any of his qualities. And if anyone would like me to read some of them again, let me know.
Does anyone have extra cards with them, the colorful cards?
Beautiful. Charming.
Raise your hand if you don't have a card.
I just got a good idea suggested, that if you write your name on the front, maybe you can take them and give them to Gopinath and pick them up and take them home with you when it's time to leave. Because I would like you to keep them as a souvenir of tonight. I'm also handing around some stickers that you can stick on the back of your card so no one can read it or open it except Gopinath. We have about 10 minutes, so please take that time, go as thoughtfully as you can. If you need anything, let us know, please. Try to make it as personal as you can. I know that we have many things on our minds, practical things and so on, but try to go as personally and honestly as you can, because Gopinath, he's very, very, very kind. Where are you going to put them? Is that the question? Is there a basket? There's a basket. Perhaps you can get another basket if there is one. Let's ask the medic flowers in it. It has here. There will be another basket, I think. That's the way outside. In the little.
What's that?
Basket? For the basket?
Upstairs. In my room. Office.
I will just read those last 4 qualities of Krishna. He is the performer of wonderful varieties of pastimes, especially his childhood pastimes. He is surrounded by loving devotees, endowed with wonderful love of Godhead. He can attract all living entities all over the universes by playing on his flute. He has a wonderful excellence of beauty which cannot be rivaled anywhere in the creation. And I'll read you as you write. This is from Srila Bhakti Vinod. O Gopinath, Lord of the Gopis, please hear my request to you now.
It's hard to listen and write at the same time.
Oh, you can just write, but I'll read.
Practice not listening to you.
No problem.
She's inspired by Lali's story.
Yeah, exactly. I am just a gross sense gratifier and a wicked rogue. I am continuously addicted to chasing after material desires, and I don't even possess a drop of any good qualities at all. This is my real position. O Gopinath, you are my only hope. Therefore I have taken shelter of your lotus feet for protection. Please consider me to be your insignificant servant. O Gopinath, how is it possible to purify someone like me? I have no idea about what devotion is, for my materialistic mind is completely absorbed in fruitive action. This is my pitiable condition. O Gopinath, everything in this world is made of your temporary, illusory energy. This body is also. Being trapped within such a body, I now find myself helplessly bereft of all transcendental knowledge. O Gopinath, this sinner is weeping and weeping, begging piteously for an eternal place close to your lotus feet. Please be merciful and bestow such a favor on this fallen soul. O Gopinath, you are the Supreme Lord. Certainly you are able to do anything you like. I know that you have the power to deliver all sinners, so So now I am admitting to you that no one can be more of a sinner than myself. O Gopinath, you are an unlimited ocean of causeless mercy. Please show compassion to all the fallen souls who come into this material world to expand so many nice pastimes before their very eyes. O Gopinath, how much of a sinner am I? So many demons have attained your lotus feet, but Bhakti Vinod has simply remained here, trapped in worldly existence.
What should we do with our pens?
In a little while, somebody will come around and collect them. Maybe just put them down on the mat.
I could put mine in. Can we have some more stickers? Otherwise the little card falls out. You need a sticker?
We have 5 more minutes. So you can put Gopinath's name on the front of the envelope and your name up in the left-hand corner so that you can know which one's your own. Of course, you might be able to figure it out easily by your handwriting. So as soon as you complete, just bring your pen over here and place your message to Gopinath on the altar. A prayer and a quality. If it's a quality that you like, that means it's a quality that you would like to have more of yourself. Or it's an exceptional quality of Krishna himself.